Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Namaste Experience. Is everybody feeling the experience?
Yeah.
You're here? Is that what you said? Well, I'm here. So I guess so. It's a beginning. It's a first step. I am here. So I may as well dive in. It's kind of like saying, I'm here at the pool. I have a choice. I can sit here at the side or I can jump in. It's a hot day and you're sweaty, you're really overheating. Why would you just sit there? Why would you just want to look at the pool when you can dive in? And that's the experience. So dive in. Okay, we can go now. Thank you very much. Actually, I want to begin just to kind of wrap up what we shared yesterday, because for me and for many of us here at Namaste Village, it's the breakfast table where the highest wisdom is expressed. And so often it's the conversations that happen at the breakfast table that lead me in a particular direction or give me something, the beginning of a sharing. And this is more of the ending of a sharing, because yesterday we talked about how the ego is looking for an excuse to keep it out here. Okay, because the last thing that you're allowed to do from its perspective is to bring it all in here, to realize that it's all in my mind. And the problem and the solution are in one place. No, that is not allowed from the perspective that you've bought until now. It's like you've gone into a store that sells only one thing. Keep it out there. Keep it external. Don't look within, because if you do, you're going to find the answer. And that's the last thing that you want in this store. So let's leave that store. Let's get out of that place, because it's to the point where that doesn't make any sense anymore. Because if I keep it out here, I'll never find, or I'll never realize that the problem and the solution are in the same place. That the ego's whole teaching is the problem and the solution are in different places. Does that make sense? Right. So keep it out here where you're never going to find the solution, because it's so simple. In one of my computers resting on this book, The Art of Spiritual Peacemaking, and I could find the line now if I want to, but I'll just tell you the story that it says. And I've used this before, but it really illustrates this perfectly. It says, it's like losing something that you dearly love in the house, but searching constantly and forever in the yard outside. You could search for days, you could search forever, and you'll never find what you think you lost, because it was never really lost. The instant you give up the search, go back inside and just plop down in the chair, you look next to you, it's like, oh my gosh, there it is. How many of you have ever thought you lost something and you're sure you've looked everywhere, but then 5 minutes later, you look right in front of you and there it is. That's you. You think you've lost you with a capital Y, right? No, you didn't. But if you keep looking for you in all the wrong places, you're never going to find the truth of who you are. So I'm going off on a tangent, but basically all I wanted to say about that is that it's very easy to know which voice you're listening to, the ego's voice that wants you to keep everything out here, or the voice of your soul, or the voice of your I am consciousness. Because the ego's voice is constantly saying this. See if you can relate. It says, be very, very afraid of everything. Be afraid of everything. Okay, so what I do in this store, this ego store, is I come up with all of these insane The more insane, the more people believe it. Have you found that? The more insane a conspiracy theory is, the more people you get jumping on that bandwagon. I think that's bizarre, but it's true. So the more insane, the better, because this is an insane asylum, right? So it matches energetically somehow. So, but the more insane, all it's saying is be very, very afraid. Be careful. There's something out there that's going to get you. Okay, that's the ego's voice. So pay attention whenever you hear that, whenever you feel that. Let me tell you the difference between that voice and the soul's voice, or the voice of your I am consciousness. All it says is, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You are going to be fine. You with the capital Y. There's nothing for you to worry about out here, because there's nothing out here. Inside you. Got it? That's it. That's why we keep coming back to that one phrase, the simplicity of salvation. That's why salvation from the ego dominance, from the world that the ego created to be afraid of, that's why salvation is so simple. It's all within. Don't worry about it. Yes, the world of the ego is insane. Yes, we're heading in a bizarre direction. Don't worry about it. You are going to be fine. That should be helpful. I hope it is. Now, I want to do something a little different. Vicky, you're out there, aren't you? Just say hi if you're out there.
Yes, Brother James. Hi.
Okay. So Vicky has no idea I'm going to do this. I love springing things on people. So are you ready, Vicky?
Ready and awake, ready and awake.
So usually I share a little something lately from the master teacher within, and then I talk about it for 10 minutes or so, and then Vicky talks about it. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to share a story from this upcoming book, The Master Teacher Within. And then I'm not going to say anything. I want Vicky, I want you to jump right in and share what your perspective of this story is. Now, she hasn't heard this story, but that makes it more fun when you haven't heard it. Okay. So are you ready, Vicky?
Ready.
Okay. All right. So as you know, in the experience of, I've never liked that word channeling. Let's say scribing, same thing, let's say listening. Listening is a good word. In that experience, it begins always with a question. And then I would always type out a one sentence after that. And then I would just drop off into unconsciousness. And when I would wake up, the answer will have been written or typed on my computer. So here's the question. The world seems more like a cage, especially as I go deeper into this dialogue. Is that accurate? That the world I perceive with my senses is like a cage or a straitjacket that keeps me from realizing who I am? So that's the question. And then after this sentence, I always type is, I now open to the master teacher within and the whole mind that is forever my own. Okay. Then when I wake up, I read this. Imagine a sparrow flying through an open window into a very large airport. Since the airport is so large, it never finds its way back to the real world, but makes its home in the rafters of the airport. After some time, it meets other sparrows who suffer the same captivity. And they form a community together. They talk about the other world they left, find mates, and ultimately raise sparrow families. Generations pass, and after many years, the sparrows forget that there's a world outside the walls of the airport. They can see this larger world when they pass a window or even an open door. But the fear of what it means keeps them from leaving the world they've always known. Then one of the sparrows, almost by accident, flies out of an open door and finds itself in the open air. At first, the bird doesn't know how to react. It tries to fly back to safety, but the door it flew through has closed. It looks through the glass at its sparrow friends and wonders if this is what death is: isolation. As the days and weeks pass, the sparrow wanders further and further from the airport. It sees huge steel birds that lift from the ground with a thunderous roar. It also meets other birds that are astounded by the sparrow's stories of its safe home. Is it true that there's a ceiling that keeps you from soaring into the clouds? A hawk asks. Are you telling me that the twigs and leaves you use to build your nest are made of plastic? A crow inquires. The sparrow begins to consider the possibility that it never knew what the real world was. As this idea and reality becomes more concrete, it longs to find an open door so it can fly back into the airport building and tell his entire sparrow family his discovery. Then one day, the sparrow meets a wise owl who helps the sparrow understand. The building where you lived was just as much part of the real world as everything you're discovering now, the wise old owl explains. But you thought that the building where you lived was the only world, and that everything you perceived outside the windows were fantasy. Your experience of the real world, or the world outside the airport, has expanded to include everything, not just some things. Your new vision allows you to perceive that which was always present, but which was blocked by the walls within your own mind. Think about this story. Are you the sparrow that's trapped inside the airport, or the one flying through the open air? Be honest with yourself. And if you're able to admit that you're the one trapped inside the airport, what would it take to be free? The answer is simple. Fly through the window that's being provided for you right now. So, Vicky, tell me what comes to you from that story.
Well, I love this story, and it has some overtones of In the Prison, if you remember that story. It has a few of those overtones. But what I love particularly about this is that even the building was part of the real world. Of course it is. There's nothing that isn't. And of course I love the right now, because it's always right now. It's like Yogananda's question every day: what are you? How are you feeling? Ready and awake. If we're ready and awake right now, what are we awake to? What is it? It's to that voice within, that spirit of wonder and love and expansion and giving. If we listen for every moment, really live by that voice. And the other part is ready. That's really important, because for me, I've been receptive, trying to stay receptive. But the readiness factor is very important, because it's my willingness, all of our willingness to step through an open window. So that open window is right here, right now, for any of us and each of us. If we turn wholeheartedly and listen and follow that prompt. What did Jesus say to every disciple and everyone that came to him? Follow me. Follow me. That's all that this is. Follow the light. And don't worry about the outcome. Don't worry where it's leading. Don't worry if you don't think it's what you thought you wanted. Me particularly, I'm very task oriented, and I function well when I have a task and I drive to that task. And what has happened to me over the years, and most recently, even now doing this move, is rather than be task oriented to the function, I'm task oriented to spirit. It's like, okay, you're my goal. You're the only goal I've got. I've just got to hang out and listen and be ready. Be ready to move, be ready to fly, be ready to pack, be ready to whatever, greet, welcome, wonder. But it's a readiness that's based on happiness, not a readiness that's based on gloom and doom. It's like God really is in charge, and I'm so grateful, and I'm going to let him right now. And it is in the right now that this is applied. If we're going to dive in the deep end, it's not later and tomorrow. It's right now with whatever we're looking at. I'm looking at packing and moving right now with welcome and wonder right now. And then simply follow the voice, especially those of us that get busy with doings and all kinds of things. All the doings will get done. They'll get done by grace rather than by effort. Yesterday, I was trying to get a 1099 form from Social Security, and I thought, oh, I better get this so my accountant can do the taxes and this and that. And all of a sudden, I stopped dead in my tracks. Oh, Holy Spirit, what do you think? Relax, be with me, take it easy, don't worry about a thing. 10 people wanted to see me before. Usually I say, no, I'll see you after I do this. I have to do this. This is my function. I said, sure, come on over. We'll visit, we'll have coffee, we'll do this. I said, I get there when I get there. Spirit will get me there. I get there. There's no wait. I go right in. They take me, they give it to me. I come out. I call my accountant and he says, where have you been? I've been calling you. Did you call me? He never calls. He's always too busy. I said, why are you calling me? He said, I want to get it done for you. And I gave him the information on a text. And within 15 minutes, he called me back. He said, give me your bank account. You got a refund coming. And I said, wow, Jesus, Holy Spirit, you guys have it covered. JC Central, I'm all in. I have only one task, and that really is I'm task-oriented to spirit. You take over. Karen Palmer, who's in the room, used the word stop. Spirit, take over, please. That's my go-to. And if I'm that bird in that beautiful airport, airports are wonderful. They have all kinds of interesting things. Enjoy it all. When it's time to be let out that window or door, you'll know, the prompt will take you there. I'm actually surprised in the story that the children didn't find the window before the grown-up Sparrow. But every moment is a door out the window, because all we want is the joy and the happiness from knowing who we are. And with knowing who we are comes complete care. Be careless for everything except care to keep that connection, that communion, that you're in charge and I'm all in, I'm ready and I'm awake. I'll fly wherever this spirit guides and leads. So I love the story. I love that it's all beautiful. There's no bad corner in it anywhere. There's only greater expansion, greater love, greater joy. And that's every moment listening to spirit. And we are called to do that now all the time, radically. And what fun. That means we live with wonder and welcome instead of, worry and fear. And who cares? Who knows what I'm supposed to lose or get or what or this or that? I don't know. I don't care. JC Central, I stay tuned in here, ready and awake. And every step is that open window. Thank you, Brother James.
Thank you, Nikki. That was perfect. There are two things that come into my mind. Actually, three. The first is you gave a beautiful illustration of how we described that the voice of the Holy Spirit that just keeps saying, don't worry about it. Just relax. Don't worry about a thing. Because every little thing is gonna be all right. Sing it with me. Don't worry about the about a thing. Because every little thing is gonna be all right. And what's the next part? The whole song's about a little bird, right? Bob Marley's song. Anyway. So an airport, How many of you have ever been in an airport or a mall and you see some birds flying up in the rafters? Of course, we all have. Now, here's the thing, and Vicky touched on this. An airport is a very big place, right? An airport terminal is usually a very big place. So a bird that finds itself trapped inside the airport could very easily just make it its world. Because there's a lot of places to go, a lot of, trees, maybe it's got some lovely places it can hide and raise its sparrow family. It would be a very easy place to live. Imagine if the sparrow flew into the window that led only into a tiny room. Now, in this case, there's nowhere to fly to. It would become the need and the necessity to return to what we'll call the real world would be so much stronger because it's trapped inside a small little space. But trapped inside an airport or a mall where there's a huge space for it to fly, it can much more easily become adapted to that place. Do you see that it's the same thing here in this world? Okay, this world where we seem to live, this world that we've created, the perceptual world, is large enough so that we can move, we can do things, we can live our lives, we can dance, we can pray, we can do whatever we want to do. And it gives us the impression of vastness instead of the impression of the opposite. And so this is an important part of it. And Vicky also mentioned something that we used to talk about, and that is to, whenever you're talking about something that you're going to do or you're going to see or who you're going to visit, whatever it may be, at the very end of the sentence, add the words "in the prison." For example, after the session, I'm going to go and get some breakfast in the prison. I think I'm going to go hang out with Jet when we're done here in the prison. You see how it reminds me that this airport, that there's so much more, that this is that even though it seems vast, it reminds me that it's a perceptual prison that I am here to expand out of. Right. Now, the other final thing is that what we do here every day, when we come together here every morning, this is the window. This is the window that the bird flies by and looks out and sees the true vastness of what we'll call the real world. And then the bird has a choice. Then you have a choice. When you come here every day and we come directly in contact with the window into the real world, you have a choice now whether to stay on this side or just fly through that open window into the real world. All I'm saying is fly. Don't hold back. Yes, you could continue to make this perceptual universe your home, and it will give you the impression of what you really want. All the master teacher within you is saying is that there is another world, a world that is not vast, but infinite, not fragmented, but whole, complete. And this is where you truly belong. So fly. Don't come here and just look out the window. Fly into the real world. That's the Namaste experience, to fly into the real world. It's right there in front of you. So why not? Make sense? You ready? Ready to fly? Let's flap those wings. Come on, let's get out there. I wish all you guys could see. I don't know if you can see them all flapping. Everybody in the Zoom room as well. Flap your wings. Let's go. All right. And just to recap the beginning, whenever you hear that voice or you feel that energy that says, be very afraid, be very, very afraid, just say whatever. Whatever. It was one of the greatest lessons I learned from my daughter when she was about 13 or 14. Her constant need to look at me with those eyes. Whatever. Oh my God, that is like one of the highest spiritual teachings I've ever heard. I remember when she used to always say that to me, and at first I thought, this is so rude. You shouldn't say that to your father, whatever, until it hit me. This is enlightenment. That's an enlightened teaching, just whatever. Or the time when Leslie is still her best friend. She moved out to Portland. They were both raised in Chicago. They moved out to Portland. And when they were both around that age, 14 or 15, we were giving Leslie a ride home. I was giving Leslie a ride home, and they were both in the back seat, of course, because they don't want to sit with their uncool father up in the front seat. So they're both in the back seat. And we're talking about whatever it is. And Leslie said to Angela, your dad is totally random. So after we dropped Leslie off, I said, honey, is that good? It's totally random. Oh yeah. Very few adults ever attain the state of total randomness. So be totally random, whatever. And whenever that voice of fear comes up, just start singing that Bob Marley song. Every little thing is going to be all right. That's our teaching. Now, since we forgot to do our opening in the beginning, I forgot, not you. Let's end with it. That sound good? Let me go ahead and we'll put it up here on the screen. Okay, so we'll start with our opening here. So those of you in the Zoom, please keep your microphones muted. Don't unmute. Just everybody join me by saying, my soul has but one goal, to awaken to the truth that is forever true. My heart has but one desire, to remember the passion of infinite bliss. My mind has but one focus, to embrace the reality that is forever real. I choose to awaken now to the infinite soul that is my soul. I give everything to this love, just as it has given everything to me. I am awake now. How is everyone today? Awake and ready. How feels everyone today? Awake and ready. And there it is. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful day. Namaste. See you
Thank you,
tomorrow.
everybody. Love you. See you tomorrow.
Namaste, everyone.
Keep them
Bye.
all.
Now